I found a new song. I'm like really obsessed. This one's good too, but I'm gonna share one with you. I heard this morning, and oh, it came at the right time. I'm also reading this book. Um, on the weekends. So the song that came on the radio was a beautiful reminder. I don't normally listen to the radio either. I usually will put on an audiobook or something else that's hooked into my phone, something that I've manually downloaded. But today I was just, I guess, yeah, I wasn't in the mood. I knew I was just going up the road. I didn't want to hook anything up. So I just clicked on the radio and I found some really good music. This was one of those songs, and it was a sign, and I want to share it. There you go. Oh my god. I found some really good music today. I've been riding on a really good vibe, and yeah, Anastasia was here this weekend too, or I guess she's still here, and we got out the poi this morning and was dancing. So yeah, that always puts me in such a good mood. I love it. For anybody who doesn't know poi, it's um, essentially if you want to make this at home and do shoulder workouts to feel like some uh, yeah, I don't know. For me, it feels really ancient, like martial arts, kind of like the nunchuck styles or some of the other, isolation movements. But you're working with balls that are suspended in the air. And to make these at home, we just use long pairs of decorative socks and tennis balls, and you tie a little knot that you can put in between your fingers, and they're usually the perfect size for kids, and then they can hit themselves and everything, and it won't hurt, it won't cause any damage, or concussions or anything. And it's a beautiful dancing instrument. You see this in a lot of Native American dance and a lot of rave culture too, just working with things like hoops. It's similar to that. Poi, now they make them with LEDs as well, so you can have these really cool designs or change up the patterns. I do have a couple pairs by Amazing Lights that we use at nighttime just for that kind of visual effect, around the fire or, yeah. And so they're usually just in my car for at nighttime and, if I'm out camping somewhere. It's fun. It also works as a cool little light for kids like that too. So yeah, Anastasia and I were doing that today. A lot of the time Finn will play with me too, but today he wasn't into it. But she would do that all day, as would I. So it's always a lot of fun. And yeah, music's just a good integration work for that soul. And right, there's a few things I want to talk about today also. Um, so the new moon, it just passed, and as you remember last Sunday, if you were here or watched the recording, that the new moon was actually on the first, which I think was on Tuesday or Wednesday. And on that day I decided to publish the Rebirth book that I had mentioned before, that one of our clients, Juliana, she loved what we were doing and offered up her services for editing, and then we put through to publishing on the new moon. And that same day, so already like a lot of synchronicities, we started looking it up and we realized that there was something, really crazy about the whole week. It actually all aligned 222. I'm still not 100% sure on the astrology, but a lot of these weird synchronicities coming up when it came to the angel numbers. So we were starting to pay more attention to that too, Tristan and I, and then I checked my email to see, how the publishing went, that everything had been confirmed and moved through properly. And I had an email there from a website called 23andMe. And I know what you're going to say, like, why, Ashley, with all that you say, about staying out of the system, that freedom is like not signing your name to any of these things, or especially not giving your DNA out to a website. But I'll tell you, there's a calling to this to tell me to do it. One of the things is healthcare here in Canada. For the most part, it's free, but it's not like, but it's not all free. Like, for example, if you want to go do allergy food testing, you have to pay for it because the doctors aren't trained to do testing like this. They're just trained to give you prescription drugs for everything. And that's part of the free healthcare scam. And yeah, so I didn't want to pay the full amount to do the food allergy testing at that time. So what I did was go for 23andMe, which cost half the price. Plus, it would give me like a bunch of really cool stuff about your ancestry. And at the time, I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan, and he was an advocate for this at the time. So one thing led to another. Next thing you know, my DNA is being sent through the mail to this website. And on this day, I got an email from them, which isn't common. I signed up for this thing years ago. And it did tell me a bit about food allergies. It did tell me a bit about like where I came from, what's in my genes, things like that. And I knew that there was like a type of ancestry bank for other family members to add in. But a really cool thing happened, and that is that my half sister I had registered and was messaging me. So for years, I remember growing up knowing that I had a half sister, and that my dad always said, one day you guys are going to be close. And, no matter what I went through in life, I was always like, I've got other family out there. And, it was always like, send that distance Reiki vibes out, like, I hope you guys are doing better than me. And, just, I love you. I can't wait to meet you. And, you know, I, I did a lot of things independently in my life. I had a choice, that I could go meet my dad's side of the family and get close with them years ago. even when my dad was still alive, because I moved out at 14 and um, he passed away when I was 17. So there was a gap there, you know. I could have done that. And I still chose to be independent and alone. But in these last few years, working with the medicines and doing that inner child healing work and healing relationships and just growing and reparenting through the parenting process, being a mother myself, my God, you have no idea how much I learned from my kid. It's incredible. It's a school in itself. It's life school. And yeah, it's, you know, I guess here's the thing. Like, I signed up for that website to open myself up to that. Who else is out there? That's my family. And so getting a message from my sister, I was like, wow, this really is like a reward, meaning I'm in the right place at the right time. And I think that ripples out into where you're at in your healing journey too. You know, years ago I wasn't open to family. Years ago, in those years that I was a teenager, I felt so unsafe spending years with my mom the way that I did, and in that environment that I couldn't imagine going to another environment, especially when she always said that I had it good with her compared to what else was out there, you know, and I let that fear take precedent. And possibly I missed out, but I gained a lot of drive. I gained a lot of independence. You know, I'm happy that I made the decisions that I did, because I definitely wouldn't be in this position right now where I created a job for myself out of thin air and living a great life. And, you know, the doctors told me I couldn't have a kid. And here I am, not only as, as a mother now to a pretty amazing, almost 6 year old. You know, it's it's that I was like, I was able to do all that independently for the most part, you know, like obviously there's so many mentors that come along and family now that just comes up. And I think a lot of that plays into just the healing journey and what you're open to, and how, you know, Kambo teaches us not only to open our heart, but guides us so that we can do that work to keep it open as well. And I think that has definitely come full circle these days. Um, so the new moon, it's was said to have been the luckiest day of the year when I looked it up, and it definitely was. You know, I published a book. I got to celebrate days before with you guys. I connected with my sister that, you know, I hadn't talked to since she was like 3 years old. Um, yeah, just really cool day. And I'm grateful that I get to come on here and share that with you guys too, to share in that celebration. It's still, yeah, it's pretty incredible what's possible. So some other things that came up, I'll just have a sip of water, if you don't mind. All right, so other than the new moon, all that came up, another thing was, I don't know if you remember, but I done a YouTube video long ago talking about Kambo frog and how one of the things and times when I knew I was being called to Kambo was due to Druid cards showing up. So the frog came up for me again last night as I was drawing too. On the other side is the bear. That was the one Tristan drew. Yeah, so I got the frog. Coincidentally or not, there's also mushrooms in the frog picture, and this is because the frog brings medicine. And in the shamanic culture, the medicines on the skin of these frogs is one of the ways that the frog can move between elements. You know, this is your understanding of both the water world and those realms, which is also representation of, you know, the unconscious, the subconscious, the the depths within ourselves, and then the earth element as well. It can move between realms. So this is a really sacred medicine for shamans. And here's another thing in working with Kambo frog. There or, it's also called Sapo. So anyone who's been to the Amazon rainforest working with ayahuasca, maybe you've heard of Sapo or worked with it yourself. Um, so Kambo, Sapo, both work mainly frog medicine. And this isn't even a psychedelic per se. In fact, this has tons of additional health benefits when it comes to like the amount of and diversity of peptides that are in this medicine. So scientifically proven to be very helpful in so many ways. Cancer, like in the physical world, cancer being one of those things that it can help with. Um, and then also in the spiritual world for just cleansing out negative energy, ancestral work. So the way that my Kambo, who did the initiation with me, the practitioner that guided me through that, Raven, um, she had, for initiation, you have to do 3 ceremonies within a moon cycle. I did all 3 of mine in the 3 days, so one day after the other. And Raven said the reason why we do this is it's almost like cleaning a floor. So on the first day, you're just picking stuff up. The second day, you sweep. The third day, you mop, and it's actually clean. This is what we're doing with ourselves, and why it takes a little bit of integration between the sessions, but also this alignment with the moon cycles, this intention. And I purged so much in this time. It's not exactly a pleasant medicine. Even when I've gone back and worked with it year after year, it's still uh, causing these purgative effects, and total different set of healing too. It's been so different every single time. And I remember the first time it was mainly ancestral work that was coming out of me. It was, this darkness and these, demonic states from like all my years of drinking and from all my ancestors who had alcohol in their systems before me. This was just so much, and through the integration work, it even got deeper and became more clear. But from working with this medicine, Campbell was kind of there helping guide me through both the experience the day of and, upward to a year or longer afterwards through the integration. You know, mushrooms are there for you too, following because, like, the information's there at a cellular level, but it's definitely a different kind of medicine. And Campbell's not a yeah, it doesn't really fall under the psychedelic realm, but it's definitely one of the most soul and mind manifesting medicines that I've come across. So, by definition of the people who defined psychedelics, I would say that it falls under the spectrum, but most people, most psychonauts would not consider it to be. And it is legal in most parts of the world, likely because it's so, it's not pleasurable in the moment, but there's so many effects. And I guess I'll read instead of the meditation. Today we'll do it a little bit different. I'm going to read from you about the frog medicine, right from this is the Druid animal oracle, and it's all the art, everything was done to be aligned with Celtic and Druid tradition. So I'm going to read out of this book. We can watch the candle. This will be our meditation today. Just I guess, tuning in with the frog wisdom, what it brings, what it represents. And remember, frogs and mushrooms work really, really well together. There's a reason why they're depicted in this art as well. Um, and why both are, praised among some of these shamanic cultures. So as after I read in, I'll share with you the news, okay? So, frog, meaning the card means sensitivity, medicine, hidden beauty, and power. The card shows a common frog crawling from a pool in which lies frog spawn, traditionally considered a powerful medicine. And so the frog spawn, this would be like the tadpoles, and this happens in spring. This is like right around the corner, you guys. The equinox is here. I've seen robins the last few days. Everything was melting. I was outside in the wind watching the wind push puddles across, like it just wants to melt around here. And I was like, I felt so in touch with Mama Nature at the time. I actually started singing poetry on the Instagram reel I did today. So it was right from the heart. I hope you guys enjoy that. And I this card couldn't have came at a more perfect time. Springtime. This is when the frog spawns out. This is when you're gonna start hearing the sound, the call. All right. To the right. Okay, so also in this card was cranberry, and this is and frog spindle orchard. To the left, beneath the hanging willow leaves, grows toadstool mushrooms, which were once called frog stools. So cool little factoid there. Mushrooms actually called frog stools, which is really cool that the frog is represented in a lot of art and in nature itself. If you're just out as an observer, both on lily pads and, as we know, the blue lotus, the blue lily flower, this is a really great medicine for lucid dreaming, going to those states too, but also knowing these ties of frogs to mushrooms. I find it so magical. It's just miraculous, supernatural. Right. The frog unites the elements of water and earth, bringing joy, delight, and healing in its singing and hopping, and leading you to the sacred spring from which you may be refreshed and renewed. So again, right, everything's melting right now. This is a time of renewal. Like everything is getting washed away. We may even get another snowfall or so, but again, that's just part of the cleaning. It comes down, it melts, and it's just washing everything away. This is the cleanse. This is the rebirth, you guys. This is why the book came out at this time, Rebirth. And it is a great psychedelic integration guide. Like, thank God for Juliana. I thank her every day for just the work that she puts into these kinds of things. She had taken all of my past articles that I had written for Psychedelic in 3 years and put them in 100 page of simple, easy to comprehend and implement tips and tricks that you guys can use on your psychedelic integration journey. So really cool, and yeah, and great time for all of this really to come together. Frog, rebirth, you guys get it. What else have we got here? A cold-blooded creature living half on land and half in the water, the frog possesses an extremely sensitive skin, considered magical by shamans. Really sensitive skin. Yeah. And here's another thing that I wanted to share. So I am not for animal cruelty in any way. Obviously, like there's not a lot of animal products in our diet and hasn't been for a long time. Anything that we do have from an animal is from really good sources. I grew up fishing, that was, I don't so much anymore, but I will have seafood and things when it comes, from water that we know is pure and fresh and from people that we can contribute to. In that way, and same with eggs are the same way, honey is the same way. Anything that we get across the board, even when it comes to plants, we try to do as sustainably as we can. And we like to be diverse with even the stores that we're shopping at and things, because diversity is so important, in our culture as well as in our guts and in our soils. Yeah, so another fractal that I saw is that, I was scared at first to be working, to hear the call of the frog, to start working with this medicine, because I knew that it has to be scared or stimulated in some ways to excrete this frog medicine, or poison, or in different it's considered different things. It's considered a medicine, but by scientific definition, it would be also a poison. And so when the frog's excreting with the shaman actually call out to them, and the frogs build a relationship with the shaman, and they work together. They listen for each other, and I saw this relationship with the frog, tied excreting. It's like it took about 15-20 minutes, which is about how long it takes for that medicine to work its way through our bloodstream, just as it takes that amount of time for the shaman to actually take the excretions from the frog. No, I thought that was a beautiful thing, but I also saw something from the frog, which was that the frog in that time was learning how to surrender. It was just letting go. It was trusting. It maybe, yeah, maybe it wasn't exactly torture. Maybe they really are just working symbiotically. And that was what I gathered from it. And I'm like, because of that relationship, that's how come we're able to have this experience where we ourselves are given the opportunity to surrender. We are giving ourselves the opportunity to open up gates on our arms or on our neck or on our back or on our foot or behind the ears, wherever it is that you're working with this medicine. You're given the opportunity to allow in. Following that, you're giving your elimination organs the opportunity to really cleanse and get everything out that doesn't need to be there. And then you're given the opportunity to integrate better with this medicine, to surrender to whatever may come up or come out. Uh, and this is what I saw in the frog's eyes, as it was giving its medicine to the shaman too. So skin is really something, and that's another thing that Kambo is meant to be good for, is for our skin as well. And psoriasis is something that goes in my family bloodline on my dad's side. I think everybody needed to really develop a thick skin, and that's what psoriasis is a thick skin. It's skin that grows really fast. It's part of and tied to an autoimmune disorder where if there's an issue, your body really wants to fight, and it's built up a really big double army, which is why it's building skin cells so super fast. So it really is a tough skin, so you can make it through things. And I think one of the reasons why Kambo has been so great and instrumental in my own healing journey is because of this as well. It's helping me in these areas. Uh, and yeah, having a thick skin, it's definitely has its benefits, but you don't ever want to have or be tied to a diagnosis of something. We have the choice if we want to turn those cells on or off. This is the beauty of the work that Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza are doing in the epigenetics field. Our genes are only so much. After that, we choose whether or not we turn them on or off. There's a reason why siblings won't have the same issues, why you can go into a doctor's office, see somebody with the flu, and two people get the flu, the other three people walk out and are fine. It's us allowing ourselves to be susceptible to certain things at certain moments because of how we are self-regulating. And this is one of the things that I've noticed with the frog medicine too, is that it's really good for that self-regulation. Likely because of that allowing of surrender and allowing of integration and allowing of allowing yourself to let go. Okay, so yeah, considered magical by shamans, a companion of the rain spirits, which spring, we're getting a lot of that now. The frog can help you develop your sensitivity to others, to healing, and to sound through your skin and your entire whole body and aura. And this is what I mentioned too. It's great for the physical body, but there's also a lot of spiritual meanings here when it comes to the Kambo frog. One of the things too is that it is let me come back to that. All right. Okay. Uh, Focus. Nothing is what it appears to be, and life is more fun than you at first suppose. There's a hidden beauty and hidden power in all of nature. And as you open yourself up to this, you will feel close to the goddess and close to both the earth and the water. Look for beauty and the magic behind appearances. That's like the old frog tale, like Prince Charm, the Frog Prince, I think. But you know, it's got its own fractal and everything like that in there too. Don't judge a book by its cover, for example. All right, so with the moving between, like, they're talking here rain spirits and earth spirits and things like that, right? Because this is what I was saying about the frog helping you move and guide through elements. One of those things is that Kambo is meant to like help with hunters. Back in the day, our ancestors would use it to help see in the dark. One of the complementary medicines is the eye drops of Sananga. Again, non-psychedelic, but whoa, let me tell you, this is a magical and potent medicine. And so our ancestors would use it in this way, but I feel now there's this big calling to help do this ancestral work, to call on our ancestors, like how Harry Potter did in, the final movies of that epic release of movie theater entertainment. And it's kind of like that, being able to move through elements and have those magic powers to connect with those other spirits, to call on our ancestors. In yoga, we're doing this through different mantras. Waheguru being a beautiful mantra, but Rama Dasa Sase Sohan, good one for healing. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo, that's the one. So when you're saying that mantra, you're actually calling in all the gurus and masters teachers to be present with you. And I feel we're doing this, when we're able to move through these kinds of elements, and the frog shamanic energy being able to stay in you for so long, following, just staying with you through the integration process, following the initial, hour of experience max. It's really not a long one, but it's also good that it's not that pleasurable either until after. But that connection after, it does make it worth it. Worth it so much that people keep going back. My call to this frog medicine, I knew was coming. I wrote it down on my calendar long ago to start working with it again in the springtime. Everything in my body was making frog noises. I would crack like, when you stretch and you hear the cracks and cricks and cracks in your body. It always sounded like a frog. My stomach would gurgle and it would sound like a frog. I would get a frog in my throat, that saying, right? And it does really sound like a frog. And, so I was getting this. I had a Reiki session probably a month or so ago as well. And I sobbed. I let go so much. And I literally sobbed and surrendered in that moment. And one of the things came out was I have to go work with Kambo again. And so with all of the chaos going on in the world right now, one of the things I've done is actually ordered a kit, and I went really big and I got everything. And I am really committed to doing this work right now. And I think it's kind of funny because I'm reading the encyclopedia on psychoactive plants, but at the same time, what I really want to be working with is this frog, and somehow it still all comes together. And so I'm really grateful in this moment that I get to be doing both and to be able to share both with you guys too. So as this kit comes out, there's going to be a lot of things coming up in the summer, even in the spring and in the fall too. that I get to share with you. And one of the things is going to be diving more into this medicine, and doing it on your own. They say after 6 sessions, you can start working with on your own. And yeah, I'm there. I'm called, and I'm ready. I'm a little scared, but I also know that the best things are on the other side of that comfort zone. And there's just no doubt in my mind that this is the right thing at the right time. If anything, I wanted to kind of wait and put it off a little bit longer, but I drew the card and I'm like, I'm just ordering now, and maybe the timing's gonna work out perfect. I bet it will. Right. So put that down. What else do we have going on? Yeah, so I guess Drew cards, just to touch on that a little bit. This is one of my favorite decks. I've had a couple decks given to me, and I always pay them forward. This one, I actually, it presented itself to me, and I invested my own financial currency into it, and I've been working with it for many, many years. I love the animal druids. I like it more than most of the tarot decks that I've had the honor to play with. And animal spirits, they show up with you, to you in so many other ways, like even in your body making specific sounds. Like the wolf, talking to me right now through books and through the radio, which I never listened to. It just happened to be on in this beautiful song that then inspired an entire poi session. And uh, you know, so animals, this really beautiful thing. It's such a great way to become spiritually connected, naturally connected. So just have awareness, if there's, a mouse in your house, don't go get a bunch of mouse traps. Instead, look up and see what a mouse means and what it is you can do in your own vortex, spiritual, or in your own life and in your own mindset to adjust the situation. And remember that that there is always another meaning on these things. It doesn't mean you have to go so deep as to think that everything has a meaning all the time. But if it seems like there's a significant meaning, if something's driving you crazy, you know, um, yeah, like bunnies come around here. Like I've lived a lot of places where there's different animals. Right here in this place that I'm living, there's a lot of bunnies around. So I've been looking up, like, what do bunnies mean in the spiritual realm? When I've lived in other places, it was deer just randomly walking through the yard. So I took the time and I looked it up. What are people saying that the spiritual meaning behind this is? And I just felt that connection, and I feel it really strongly with the cards as well. Right now, it's the frog that's showing up, and also the wolf. So those are the animals that I'm working with right now. I do recommend, finding a practice. Maybe it's numbers, like angel numbers. We play with those a lot in our signal group. It's a lot of fun, and people are finding, like, look, there is like significant meaning. It's maybe not significant meaning if you're sitting there waiting for it all the time. But if you catch something, that is a synchronicity, and that is worth the time to just see, like, what's coming up. You can check in with yourself, or you can check in with Google University and see what others are saying about that. Right. What we got here? So, other topic we've got here is, uh, actually, there's three. I don't have the chat on, so I can't see who's there right now. Uh, I guess we'll just go in order. So I got spiritual business, self-care, and scheduling. I actually think all three of those topics go really well together, and we've got time to cover them all. So, I know a lot of you guys, when you're finding us on Instagram, you're like, okay, what's going on is really cool. I really want to talk to her because I want to do something in this space. Here's the thing. There is both a lot of people in this space because it's emerging, and nobody in this space because it's just emerging. Some people have been here a long time. Some people are, just started yesterday or are just starting today. So it's okay. Like, don't compare yourself on any part of the scale. The truth is we need a lot more people doing this kind of work right now for both individual purposes and the collective too. Like, we need you guys. This is Dumbledore's army right now. We've been given this secret room, this place where we can practice, where we can use the force for knowledge and defense. And on the other side, there is the Order of the Phoenix happening, where there's real evil and real villains, and a lot of it's being exposed, which is a beautiful thing, but we can't get all caught up in that. What we have to do is come together in this safe space that's being given to us, and practice so that we can then defend ourselves and create better, through learning through all of these experiences. And that's part of what us doing any kind of spiritual business is anyway, is that ripple effect of doing for yourself and rippling that out into others, these things that you're doing a lot better at, or that you're called to doing more of. So there's a few different ways that this has shown up in our collective lately, as well. Some of the guys have been here for quite a while, since we started the Signal group a few years ago. They've been on their journey even longer than it connecting with me. They felt this calling. I myself, I've been working with these medicines for 18 years now, mushrooms specifically. So, and that's nothing compared to like the Dennis McKenna's out there, or, or the guys that like did this encyclopedia. It's been an incredible read. Like, Tristan and I are loving it up. Like, every little ounce of information, we're just like, how much more can we get? We keep going down all these rabbit holes too. It's been incredible. And so for your spiritual business, there's so many fields. My guess is whatever job you're doing now that you invested in, whatever job you invested in for your education, whatever life experience you've gathered over the years, that's going to play a role in what makes you unique in this emerging psychedelic and integration space. So, I got a call the other day about doing a doula that works with psychedelics. Wonderful. I do know a few people who are already in that space. That doesn't matter. What matters is like it's better. And here's why: because you can collaborate with them. You can learn what works for them, what didn't work for them. And you're always going to have your own individual spin on this. And you don't have to worry about anybody taking anything from you either. Don't be scared to put anything out there and be like, oh my God, I have to have everything labeled and trademarked and whatever. It's like, no, you don't. That's just holding you back from doing the work that's actually yours to do. That's drama. Focus on the data. The data is, you just have to find the people who need your help, and you have to help them, and so just put yourself out there. Nobody is going to, even if people take what it is that you're doing or take your grand idea, it's okay, because it's you that they'd actually ultimately be buying. And there's reasons why they'd want to work with you specifically over anybody else. And price is not an option, right? Like, there's, that's its own thing in general, right? Like, there's a lot of people that say they don't want to earn any kind of income off of these medicines, or others that will say you can't, or you shouldn't, or how dare you be charging for your services. I've gotten it all, from other people, but also like just the stuff that I put on myself, in that time. And the truth is, to make an impact in this space, which is so needed, you have to have income. And not only that, if you're going to make an impact in somebody else's life, they have to be willing to invest in themselves. And that's kind of how you gauge whether or not they're worth your time and your knowledge and your experience. So charging is or doing some sort of an energy exchange. Maybe it is on barter service, especially if you're just getting started and you want to know, collect more data on what's working, what's not working, what you really want to do. Maybe that is the way that you start. Um, I know I knew nothing about business when I started. I knew of hospitality and tourism, and I knew a little bit about um, like communications companies and working commission for like Rogers and Telus and Bell, like really shady companies. So I guess I had a little bit of sales, but that wasn't the way that I wanted to do it. I didn't want to follow suit on any of that kind of stuff. So what I did was would barter my services with entrepreneurs in networking events, and I would say, okay, if you teach me about sales, I will help you be healthier. So that really helped, like doing those kind of barters, because then I learned a lot about business. I got better, figuring out what was actually important, figuring out how it is that I could make better connections. And at the same time, I was practicing my skills when it came to helping people get healthier naturally without big pharma. And the drama of figuring out what is the perfect diet, and finding that perfect team and finding the perfect recipes, and it just cut all that out. I was able to really hone in on those skills, and and become more efficient at my job as a coach. So it all played a role, and that could play a role for you too. If you're in a situation where money's where it's at and you need it, then and this is what you want to be doing to earn it, then earn it. Stop playing those little games with yourself of, well, I can't charge for this or I can't charge for that, because yeah, because that's just stopping you from working with the people who really do need your help, that need so much help with their problem right now that they don't care what it costs. And those are the people you're really making an impact with, and that's where that ripple effect happens again, right? You're helping the person who actually wants your help. It's almost like, we always want to help our family, but our family's not always open or receptive to that which we say, because they know us as, being the person hung over on the couch, or the kid that got shot with a BB gun, or like there's always like these things that people have as visions of you, or the bad kid, or like whatever these types are, or labels that are like thrust upon us and that become identifiers with our family. We don't have that when we're out there, you know, connecting with our soul family and the people who are actually doing this work, the people who are connected with us, that we're magnetized to or with, you know. So it's really important to realize that we're all just a mirror of each other, that you're not going to actually help your family. They will help themselves through you at a time that is convenient for them. They are not your concern. And that's definitely not where you start, because you'll get discouraged. You don't start with your friends either. That will happen naturally over time on its own. Just let it unfold. Don't push any of it. Don't push your own agenda. Nobody likes that. You might, yeah. So instead, focus on finding the people who actually do need your help. And as you're working with them, you'll say, oh my gosh, that's traits of my mom, or that's traits of my brother, or that's traits of my aunt, and this is a trait of my ex best friend so and so, and this is a trait of, and so you're doing your own healing work all along. I mean, you're not comparing the people, obviously, but you'll see that there's a mirror. There's this namaste effect, where we're all just a representation. We honor the parts of ourselves that are just like somebody else, and we're going to honor the parts of our friends and our family, and we're going to heal that within ourselves and within the other person at the same time. There's a balance between, associating, of course, and disassociating it. Like, you don't want to be comparing in any way, yourself to anybody else. There has to be that, but you also do want that connection. So there is a balancing act in that, a bit of a dance. It's a healthy and a fun one if you can figure it out, which I guarantee, if you're in this space and you're really feeling the calling, you're gonna get it. And we can always talk to if that's something that you want to get more into. So here's another thing that comes up is, some of you want to go into business for yourself now and get more into the psychedelic field, but you're also still working another job and you're having a hard time finding that balance between working for yourself, working the other job. Some of you even have a family. Some of you know because you've been through the, addiction cycle or through, some really serious healings that self-care is really important, and you're scared that you'll let go of your own self-care if you dive too much into business and you really want to keep the balance in that way. And so here's where we come into that lesson of the seven spokes again, right? Like where every spoke of your life essentially is like a tire on a bicycle. And as you're riding your bicycle, if one of the spokes is out of balance, you're in for a bit of a bumpy ride. You can handle the bumpy ride. You can even laugh things off. But over time, your body's going to start getting stiff. You're going to get more worn out. Your bike will get damaged. So this has its own snowball effect. And so I guess the most important part here is finding a way that if something's out of balance, that you can still even it out effectively while you're riding. Like maybe you're able to like swerve in a way and knock things into place. Maybe you start predicting stops along the way where you're gonna tune up your bicycle and make things work. And so this comes into scheduling it all in, right? So you want to schedule in your self-care. You want to be scheduling in your business. You want to be scheduling in your other work, like, and do it in time blocks where, you know, either every hour is set up in a specific way, or where things that you focus on are in specific blocks. So Tristan and I both do this differently, and I'll give you an example of each and then probably get out of here and go hang out with the kids for a bit. So in my calendar, I do it as time blocks. I like working in the mid morning, afternoon. I don't like working first thing in the morning because I really don't want to turn on the tech right away, first of all. And I also want to make sure that Finn has everything that he needs uh, before anything. Make sure I've done a little bit of self-care for myself too, that I can do a little bit of a meditation before coming on, so that between each call I'm able to do a little meditation or a cleanse and like send out healing vibes, do a little bit of Reiki, distance Reiki, self Reiki, all that in between calls. And so I found that the balance for me is doing work from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. And so I schedule that in every single day of the week, and that is my block. I also take from 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock, and I unplug. And so those are my hours. Each day of the week, has its own theme of what I do on each thing. Like, for example, Sundays, we come on here for live calls. Most of the other 6 days of the week is coaching calls or clarity calls, which I'm just checking in with people and meeting people and that kind of good stuff. What Tristan, and then I guess we'll say, finishing my schedule in the morning, we also do different workouts every single morning. And in the evening, we play like a different ninja game, learning like sustainability skills. Um, so I have my chunks that are always the same, consistent, day in, day out. But what I do in the chunks is a little bit different. The unplugged time, for example, is a different adventure that we do outside. So sometimes it's going to a conservation, sometimes it's going to the park, sometimes it's just playing outside. There's different things for different days, and it's all planned in. Our meals are planned very much the same way too, so that we can be more efficient in our actual daily life. The way Tristan does things in his calendar is a little bit different. What he takes is that every hour is the same, but every hour has its time chunk. So, he can do 3 hours of martial arts every single day, but what he's doing is 10 minutes of every hour doing essentially a hit workout. And he's in great shape doing this kind of thing. He also is taking this time for his mindset. He also takes the time to work on the mushrooms and the ferments. Every hour is broken into these 10 to 20 minute segments, and everything gets done again. So it's really cool to figure out what kind of schedule that you want and then work within that. And a really cool thing is too that we change up our schedules as the seasons change, and we start updating them with the new tasks. Like, for example, the way that we work out in the winter is way different than how we'd work out in the summer, or what we consider a workout and how long we're going to do it for and where we're going to do it. That changes. So we update things and optimize on them with the seasons, right? And so for that, you'd want to go, or I guess for tips on that, you can either contact me and I'll give you a copy of my book, Be the Change, Your Guide to Elemental Growth. If you guys got the money and, you want a hard copy of it, go to my website, elementalgrowth.org, and order Be the Change book. It's a great guidebook. I go through the entire year just with habits and different mindsets and how to really align to nature as kind of like the farmer's almanac for the soul, essentially, so that you can nurture the process of change, so that you can be the change that you wish to see in the world yourself, and what a better guide than Mama Nature herself, the queen of change. I didn't have much of a foundation growing up, so I turned to Mama Nature and she gave me everything that I needed for that foundation. I use that same foundation from that book in every area of my life, in business, in parenting, in my self-care, in any of the healing and habit building and reparenting work that I've done. It's all come back to those same principles, working with the moon cycle, the sun cycle, the seasons. Yeah, so I guess we're good to go. I feel like there was more announcements, but here's the thing. I really want to go play with those kids. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to head out while the sun's still out today. And if whatever other announcements that I have that I didn't write down here, with this amazing pencil, by the way, I'll write in the description, as well as I think I already got that song out. Check that out though. We're getting so into like starting the germination and everything. And I got these pencils. So this one's got basil in it. So once it's done, I like literally plant that in. A basil tree. So cool. I'll let you guys go. I love you all so much. Thanks for hanging out.